home. All right. Hello and welcome to this episode of uh, Boomer and DJ. I'm your host Biz, coming to you live with co-founder Andy. Andy, how's it going? My camera seems to turn off again. That's amazing.
Yes, well, that's two of us because I've had a crazy day. So I got my camera set up, but then I just couldn't. I needed to get Streamlabs and all of that kind of going, and I didn't have time, and it's just been a crazy day. So, but yeah. So hopefully tomorrow, hopefully the day after, we'll both be back on camera.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here we go. There's no stopping me. Yeah. So anyhow, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you all for watching. This is going to be a good one. A lot of lessons from yesterday's trades. Been testing on a new strategy. One that's been getting pretty consistent results. Now, I'd be curious to see how you've been utilizing it. But Andy, I was sort of taking it from you, noticing how we could utilize liquidity sweeps to our advantage. Identified a couple of trades. One was the LPT. Actually, that was right after the call. I entered that trade, and that one did not bad. So there's, I think what's more important to take away from me, for at least from that trade, is getting stopped out and then knowing where to identify the a genuine how to validate a liquidity sweep. I think that's really important, because a lot of the times we would think that it's a liquidity sweep, but actually if we zoom out, the liquidity sweep already happened. And so it's really important to sort of know where we're at in the cycle, and when are these liquidity sweeps valid, and where they are not. Anyhow, excited to get right into it. But without further ado, Andy, let's take a look at the market health.
Yeah, so I've probably got an answer for that question that you've just asked. But if we have time on this stream, I will show it. If not, I can show you it after the stream. So market health, not a lot to say. Doom and gloom. So it's just not risen. The day's not fallen back, but the short-term trend went from negative to neutral. But the big one, the long-term trend went to negative. And when you go to Bitcoin and you go to this chart that we've had these boxes on for a very long time, after probably over a month we've had these boxes on here. I just today put on the points of control, and surprisingly I adjusted them very slightly, the widths of them, because there were 2 points of control down at what the fuck, like literally at the top and the bottom. So I just adjusted the box size a little. Same with could be, but then likely this was almost in the middle. And to be honest, this really needs to be changed to looking very likely. So that is looking very likely, because as you can see, there's a clear area here when you put the point of control on. There's kind of a clear zone here that it's trying to get back down to, and I think it will do it. I mean, in the short term today, this is the 5-minute chart. Bitcoin's, for want of a better phrase, it's been buggering about, and the alts have been buggering about along with it, which led me to develop something today, which is very interesting, which I'm going to show, because it was annoying me. And so now I've got something that could help with this. But yeah, so Bitcoin's been going down, hanging around the point of control for today on Bitcoin, and going down beneath it. And then I found another area on a different time frame, and it's kind of been bouncing off this as well. So because I was wondering, why is it bouncing here, and I found a little, it's not an order book, but it's like a little mini demand zone, and it was just bouncing off that. So that's the state of Bitcoin. It is, it's Christmas. When you go to the small time frames on Bitcoin, if I go back to here, we're on the 5 minute. There's only like 52 Bitcoin. If you go down to the 1 minute, crazily enough, that slightly earlier today, there's like 3 Bitcoin only being traded on Binance at that point. Now, this is partially because we're Christmas. The big businesses were, they're not, the institutions are probably not playing ball now. So, it can be easily taken up and down. But I do actually think on the higher time frame, we're going to have that retrace into here. Whether we have a little bounce up first, and whether we go like that, no idea. But I do think that it's possible we're going to hit that, and maybe even lower. As day trading, that's actually quite good. Today wasn't, and which I'll get into, but frustrating day. But first, let's do a little bit of news before I take you through that. Our little friend altcoin season, I think it was down to 46 yesterday. It went up to 53, and it's now fallen back to 49. And in fact, if I just go back here and you look at others is slightly down on the day. Total 3 is slightly down even more. Bitcoin dominance is kind of holding its own, and the USDT dominance is up by 0.5 point, which means people are kind of sitting out a little bit. So, not very positive at the moment. The alts are fairly neutral. Well, some of them are. The one I traded turned out to be. But anyway, first the news. And this is onto this article. Now, I've actually had to go in and edit the HTML in this, the CSS with this, because it was too bright. It had white everywhere, so excuse the color scheme. You can't really see it properly, but I've just bodged the CSS on this web page. Michael Saylor proposes an 81 trillion Bitcoin reserve plan for the US.
Interesting.
It's got this. So what if the United States could use a Bitcoin reserve to raise its national debt? Now, we've mentioned this before, right? That the pivot into digital currency is going to wipe out the old debt. That they're going to use it to do that. Bitcoin, he advocates this bold idea on December the 21st post, so 3 days ago. Let me just go into there. Here's a breakdown of what his plan is. The 81 trillion Bitcoin plan. Saylor's plan centers on acquiring a strategic Bitcoin reserve. He claims this reserve could generate 16 trillion to 81 trillion for the US Treasury, offering a way to reduce the national debt. He argues that a strong digital asset policy would boost the US dollar and position the country as a leader in this century in the digital economy. Under his leadership, MicroStrategy has got 439,000 Bitcoin. That's crazy. Valued at 41 billion. His reserved framework in detail. Saylor's proposal organizes digital assets into 6 categories. These include Bitcoin as a virtual and digital commodity, digital securities, digital currencies. It also covers digital tokens, NFTs, and asset-backed tokens. To avoid ambiguity, every category would have regulations. Therefore, he is one of the major concepts is seeking to reduce the cost of compliance. Saylor recommends compliance costs for issuing tokens not to exceed 1% of the AUM. I've forgotten what that means. I looked it up. Assets under management, and for maintaining tokens, not more than 0.1% per annum. So he went through this, and it's very interestingly, what made me laugh is what I've not scrolled to at the moment. So he believes it's going to unlock trillions of dollars. They could pay off the national debt. But many big economic and investment voices oppose Saylor's vision of building up this reserve. Economist and Bitcoin critic, our friend Peter Schiff, dismissed the idea as complete nonsense. That's not what he said. He said this. This is complete bullshit. The proposal would do the opposite. It would weaken the dollar, exasperate the national debt, and making America a laughingstock. It would deprive business of power, diminish growth, and destroy value. The very same man who said Bitcoin would never reach $100,000. But this is his bold plan. And I actually think we've talked about this in the past, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing I'm a little bit concerned about is that they, if you combine all the ETFs, and I just read this headline in just now, that if you combine all the assets under management, and how much the government and the establishment, the banks, and how much they own, including MicroStrategy, it's 31% of the total supply. I mean, that's
Right.
quite extensive. And now the problem is that it requires the network to uh the consensus of the network is what gives it value, meaning that if one person owned majority stake, then it puts them at high risk because they would have majority share. And so it actually becomes counterintuitive to own a lot, or to have majority market share, right? So you kind
Right.
of have to spread it out amongst the participants. Otherwise, it's just like if 3 or 4 people own like 80% of the Bitcoin, then how much value is it really worth? I mean, they would never be
No,
able to get out of their position ever.
that's true because it goes again. It flies in the face of what Satoshi Nakamoto wanted Bitcoin to be, and if 3 or 4 people are controlling the entire price and the entire economy of Bitcoin, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Isn't it also true that Bitcoin is going to be used to pay off those debts?
I'm not sure. I suspect so. Yeah.
So that means that countries that that America has a debt to will also start to own Bitcoin.
But the thing is, where's the value coming from, right? Because Michael Saylor is basically proposing that they should build a treasury because the rise in value of Bitcoin would offset some of that debt and restore value in the American dollar. That's his claim. But the problem is that there's 31% already under management, which makes it less achieve like unless other nations or where other people unless other nations are taking Bitcoin more seriously and see it amongst a consensus that everybody is better off building a treasury for Bitcoin, I don't see where the value is spread.
Well, it's the same thing as what is the value of gold,
But then gold has utility, though.
Well, Bitcoin has utility too, no?
I mean, it's okay. So, I mean, so there's Ethereum. So now we're going to make a case for smart contracts, right? Because I mean, the tech, don't get me, I mean, I'm with you there where the technology has definitely increased. And so that definitely brings value to the network because there's more things that you can do with things like ordinals and all that, which is great. But at the same time, I mean, we have smart contracts off of Ethereum. And I think in terms of like the technology and the tech stack and all that, I mean, that's what Ethereum was created for. What's the unique value prop for BTC then, right?
Bitcoin energy.
It's a store of value, or it's meant to be a store of value. You know that they've been comparing it against gold, but anyway, I don't want to dwell on this too long. But I just thought this was kind of interesting news. Let's visit this. The liquidations today. I always like to refresh it and see where we're up to. Pengu Long. I mentioned Pengu earlier, right? But we've got 239 million in the last 24 hours, 132 million long, more longs than shorts. And we're still at around 49.72 to 50, almost 50-50 of the long. So we're not up to the same state of play that we were like last week when we had that massive, flush liquidity sort of sweeps going on. They're still kind of over, but it's kind of interesting. Pengu is still coming up. I sold mine, you sold yours. I don't think it's doing a right lot. So let's move on to the trading side of this, right? So you've been trading My day today has been very frustrating because it was the first day of our 10x challenge, and I woke up slightly late, and as you know, I have these SQL queries that I run, right? So if I go to here, I was a bit late, so it was 7 a.m. this morning that I ran this particular query, and what came out on top was usual USDT. So I went to the chart and almost screamed because here, this is 6:45. This should be 7 o'clock. But is that, yeah, 6:50, 7 o'clock. By the time I'd looked, it had already started going up. And I thought, great, it's going to come back down. But it didn't. And it went for a 12, let's say 11, 12% move. So I thought, okay, no problem. They like to come back to these points of control. So I'm just going to set an alert and wait for it to come back. And I was looking at other coins as well, and doing other work. So from 7 o'clock in the morning till 15:20 this afternoon. And at 15:20 this afternoon, if you remember rightly, Biz, you and I had been on a call talking about the rebranding of the Boomer DGen and all of this, and looking at Twitter handles and all of this. And I'd got an entry ready for this particular coin at that point. And this is the 5-minute table. You can see my entry was on this POC. It pinged it. If I go down to the 1-minute table, it pinged it so fast, literally so fast. Bing X missed my entry, and I didn't get in, and that turned out to be a 6.4. Well, that 6.4 is or 6% probably. I would have taken it, which would have been 120%. So I was like, no, I've waited such a long time, and then because we were messing around with Twitter, I missed it. So I kind of hadn't traded because I'd been working on other things. And also what's interesting is I'm going to come to my one losing trade in a second. I had a small losing trade, and that's all I've done today. But when you live on certain time zones, you benefit sometimes and you're disadvantaged sometimes. The coin you mentioned earlier is this coin I mentioned, LPT. I'd been trading it all weekend, and I mentioned it on the stream last night. I'd been trading here. But you notice how it's getting lower highs all the time. Yeah. And while I was sleeping, it naffed off. So my 2 a.m. this morning.
That's probably where I think
this was the move was that when you got out?
Probably, yeah.
It went up 30. Hang on, let me just move that. It went up 31.62%. So I was like, you snooze, you lose, right? And it literally was going between this demand zone here and in between this POC here. That's what I'd been trading all the time. And then bang, it went. And so my day, and that I discovered that this morning when I woke up, and I was like, then let's talk about FAR. Here is another one that came up in my queries, I think, yesterday, but it wasn't ready to take. And at my 3 a.m. this morning, it got a 65% move. So I'm like, and this was coming up in my queries yesterday, this coin, which is why I'd got it already mapped out. I've not changed a thing. And then I came in and found that. So now the only slightly losing trade I had, because Bitcoin here has been doing this all day, it helped me discover something which I'm going to show you. So I developed some code to look for this. But Move, now this traditionally, as I was trading it all last week, it was a very good coin, but it's been kind of dying away. And today I was looking for an entry because I hadn't traded, and it kind of, when I got in, it went up a bit and I got stopped out. Since that time, oddly enough, it's kind of gone up. All I was after doing was recovering the small loss I had last night. You know, when we were on the call after the stream, right? And Bitcoin tanked like crazy.
Yeah.
And I got stopped out. So since then, it's kind of gone back up. But anyway, so what this made me realize was that that there is a let me see if I can just draw a little diagram here. Hang on a sec. Let me just see if I can draw a little diagram. So imagine that Bitcoin, I'm going to go between this, goes up like this and drops like this. So it goes up 1% and it falls 1%. And then you've got, let's just say we've got now an altcoin. And when Bitcoin goes up 1%, they tend to go up more, right? Some, though, when Bitcoin falls, they fall more. So what I was looking for was those coins that go up more, but when Bitcoin falls back, they don't fall as much. So that you can, particularly if you're on the areas that we like to trade in, that you can feel confident that this coin has got a reasonable rise against Bitcoin, but at the moment it doesn't have a big fall against Bitcoin. So that led me to write this, which I don't want to bore everybody with this piece of code. And I ran it 30 minutes ago. I've not ran it since, but it came up with, I think this was about less than an hour ago I ran this, and it came up with Turbo and ONT as the top two. And if I go here, this is Turbo. Again, 15-minute chart. You can see that it's been rising. And if I go to ONT USDT, another one that's been rising while Bitcoin's been going down, and not falling as much when Bitcoin falls. So if I run that now, this is going, I can set it to go back in time however long I want. So this is going back 8 15-minute candles here and analyzing the data. Now it's taking longer because it has to go to our remote server. So Acro, it's saying now, so I've not looked at it. This is live. Acro USDT. So Acro over the last 8 candles is going up more than Bitcoin if I go to the 15-minute when it falls. Do you understand what I mean? So it's pretty good at finding these coins that that are of interest at this moment in time. So once I've developed this, if I go back to say Turbo again that we got 30 minutes ago, once I've developed this, so Bitcoin goes up. Sorry, this coin goes up, Bitcoin falls a bit. It doesn't fall as much, and then it goes up more when Bitcoin goes back up a bit. So when you get these little moves like this in Bitcoin, the coin is going up more but falling less, going up more, falling less.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is something that I've just developed, and what I will do is I've got another one as well, slightly different, but I'm going to start making sure that they come in as little alerts. That when they find things like that, it puts an alert in the server where you get something like this come in, and it won't give you necessarily the percentages. It'll just say top ranked 1 or something. So I'm going to do that, right? And so that is something that as the more you trade, the more you can discover this thing. Now it changes on coins. Sometimes, for instance, this coin has been counter trading Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin fell, it rose, and as Bitcoin rose, it fell. So there's all kinds of things you can do, and maybe I can find some patterns in that. That will be very, very interesting. So where are we? We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to see if I can find a coin here to answer your question about this liquidity sweep buying. Yeah. So So, in fact, it might be better just drawing a picture. So, you've got a situation like this in a chart, and that's the current structure. You were getting higher highs, and then you started to get lower highs. You got a lower low than before, and when you get a lower low than before, that's called a break of structure. And so that means that potentially that is going to continue in a kind of downtrend. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Because what that could have done is done this, but then gone back up, right? So when you get that break of structure like this, and then it goes down, what you're looking for, if you're going long now, it's the opposite if you're going short, is what you're looking for is that moment where you get that break of structure to the upside and then the next higher low. Are you with me? Than before. And once you look at that and you look at the points of control that we use and the liquidity sweeps, when you start seeing areas like this, liquidity tends to hang around these kind of break of structure positions because they tend to, as they go up, they'll come down and then just peak back up and go back down like that. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is sweeping the liquidity at that point.
Yeah.
So you can look for things like that in your charts, both long and short. So I know that was a very quick overview, but that's kind of, we can discuss it at length, but that's how it works.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how you can identify areas like that.
Yeah. And sorry, go on. No, and the other thing too is on a higher time frame, this moves tend to play out longer, and on shorter time frames, if you catch the liquidity sweeps, they play out a lot quicker, or sometimes don't even play out at all, like a false narrative.
No, exactly. So I've not marked this chart up at all, right? So you're getting. Hang on a second. Where's it gone? Oh, I've moved it over here. You're getting lower. Whoops. Lower high, lower high, lower high, whoops, high, and then you start to get a higher high and a higher low, things like that, right? So that's what I was identifying before. Right, so that's kind of, but as you say, on a high time frame, you establish the market structure. What are we in an uptrend or a downtrend at this point? Yeah. If you were to go here at this point, you'd say, well, you're in an uptrend. But locally, you can have these mini downtrends like this.
Yeah.
Even though you're still getting higher lows on the higher time frame. But if you take this down to the 4 hour, it starts to look more bearish. If imagine we'd only got to this candle, you think, oh, we're actually in a down one. But it's only when you get these break of structures here that you're identifying that actually is a, if I draw well, not that actually. Let me get rid of that and use this. Which one was I using? This one here. That one there is a really good example of it coming down and sweeping under it and then going back up. Are you with me?
Yep. So that, yeah, exactly. That's your textbook classic liquidity sweep right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that is the lower low that actually is a liquidity sweep as it goes back up.
Yeah, and it's quite aggressive too in that trend reversal.
That's right. It can often be very aggressive. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, this is awesome. But yeah, I mean, what you just showed with the code and what you're able to do, identifying tokens that are that do not pull back as much, but outpace Bitcoin on the gains is quite. It's quite. I think it's a really good piece of data, because then it tells you that those tokens are uptrending against Bitcoin, and that's huge.
Yeah. And I discovered that because I was annoyed today with this. and this coin.
Ah.
Are you with me? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous, and because it kept changing its mind, and that's the other thing. The data's only good. Like you see it and you go, right, this is happening right now. An hour from now, 2 hours from now, that coin could have changed its mind.
Yeah.
And it could be that there's less volume and it's now counter trading, or it's not, it's actually falling quicker, or it's gone back to, it's got, if you imagine, I referenced that game Thrust from the other day, right? The old computer game Thrust.
Mm-hmm.
But if you imagine if there's lots of people trying to pull the price up, then it's got lots of energy to pull against Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin's going up, it's pulling faster, and as Bitcoin's falling, the bulls are going, no, we're not having any of that. So although it's falling back, they're pulling it back up. And then when the bulls kind of give up, run out of steam, then it falls back in line with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And if people are shorting it, it'll fall really fast. Right, so it's that kind of thing. So identifying those coins that right now, we can do a long one and a short one, but if you identifying those coins that are booking that are actually outperforming within the rises and falls of Bitcoin, which at the moment, well, all the time are happening, but today, as you can see, this ridiculous that it was doing. From a day trading point of view, when they have such an influence on all these coins, right? Such an influence that it was just some interesting data to gather.
Yeah.
And then we can utilize that with the server and share it with the community.
Totally. Well, speaking of which, we are restructuring a lot of things. Number one is we started with the program itself. The next thing is we're going to decide on building a value focused, creator focused community where we can share a lot of value. So if you guys are just tuning in, if you guys are watching the recap, as we start to roll out, we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. And at the same time, I just want to say one more thing. Yesterday, you mentioned a token, HBAR, and HBAR is doing quite well. I was able to trade it yesterday and lock in some gains, but also at the same time, it gave me a lesson as well, because patience is key. And if you're jumping in without doing proper TA, like charting it on the longer term scale, you can definitely have your thesis go against you. And so I went long at first, and then very quickly I said, okay, it's gonna shorten. I think, Andy, I mentioned it to you yesterday. Well, I ended up changing my thesis and went long because there was just the price action suggests otherwise. But then to your point is right now it's actually bucking, or actually, well, it's outperforming. The trend is outperforming Bitcoin, and that's really important.
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely
actually
right. HBAR was coming up in my. It was coming up yesterday in this particular report here. Look, it was number 2. This morning it was number 2 under usual. Yeah. So so it was coming up as well. So these kind of things will be sticking in the server.
Yeah, totally. All right, guys, that's it for today. If you guys are celebrating the holidays, Merry Christmas. We will most likely be on unless Andy otherwise. But
I don't care, because where I live they don't celebrate Christmas. So, but you have a family, so if you want to take tomorrow off, take tomorrow off.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, we do it early enough. Nobody's awake at that time, so yeah, it's always the best to do it early. Yeah, so cool.
The kids will think you're Santa Claus roaming around the house.
No, I was keeping 6. I was making sure the presents were here. So I'm doing everyone a favor. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that's it for today, guys, and we'll look forward to doing it again tomorrow. And until then, take care and stay safe.
Merry Christmas.